Hey, good evening. So we are going to make today, we're going to make some homemade bagels. And I'm using some Bob's Red Mill Amish flour or artesian flour, baking flour.
That's a flour that we always use because it does not make my belly swell up and look like I'm pregnant.
All right, so I'm going to start with putting my warm water in here. It needs to be 110 to no more than 120 degrees. I'm pretty good about doing it with my hand. If you aren't, I used to be a professional baker, so I still can tempt the water with my hand. Here in our RV, I love these collapsible measuring cups. So I need 1 1/4 cups of warm water. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put it in my bowl. Oops. And use the 1/4 cup here. I love these. They collapse. They're great for storage, so you don't get too much stuff in your RV. So put that in there.
Because you have very little room.
Very little room. And then I'm going to add to that a tablespoon. I sometimes like a little sweeter dough, so sometimes I'll put in 2 tablespoons.
So what's the honey do?
The honey is going to feed my yeast, and it gives a nice sweetness to the bagel also. And I like to use it sometimes instead of sugar.
Why?
Because it's organic and it's made right here. It's grown right here. Well, the bees made it right here in Utah.
And so they don't grow. They don't have honey plants, dear.
No, honey, but the bees made it. They grew it in their honeycomb. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit sweeter dough today. So I'm going to put that in there. Grab my spatula over here.
Stick to the trend.
I know, right?
What trend?
They were
sweet food.
That's right. Let's go for it. These little honeybees had to work real hard, so they make good honey. So there's my honey in there, and then I'm going to add also.
What kind of yeast are you using?
I'm also Red Mill dry active yeast.
Oh, Bob's.
Bob's Red Mill.
Just like the flour.
Yeah, he does make some good products. So I'm using 1 tablespoon of yeast. I'm going to throw that in there. Can you see it, babe? There you go.
Yep.
1 tablespoon of yeast. So 1 1/4 cups of warm water. And then we have, I put in 2 tablespoons of the honey this time. And we're going to mix that all up, let it just dissolve a little bit. And then I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes. There we go. Timer, 5 minutes. Timer. All right. So we let that set for 5 minutes, and when we get back, I'll show you what else to do. All right? We'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, so we're back, and now we're to the point where we have our yeast in here, and I can tip this bowl so you can see how it's nice and foamy.
Oh yeah.
The yeast gets like nice and foamy. Now I'm going to put my 2 teaspoons of salt, which I have a tendency to cut back on the salt because salt adds flavor, but a lot of times too much salt is just not good. So, but for me, I have a tendency, if you have high blood pressure or anything like that, to try to go short on the salt. But for bagels, I'm going to stick with the 2 tablespoons, or 2 teaspoons, not tablespoons, 2 teaspoons of salt in this recipe. And the reason I am is because it does give on this one a sweet and salty, savory, salty taste to it. And that's what we're going for. So 2 teaspoons of salt goes in here. And then from there, we start putting in our flour a little at a time so that we don't put too much in at once. If you put too much in at once, then you're just going to get it everywhere. And if you put it all in at once, you can end up using too much flour in your dough. So put that away. In a little tiny kitchen, it's really important that you you keep things organized. Otherwise, you end up with stuff everywhere. So All right, so I'm going to add my bread flour. Put my mixer down.
How much bread flour you got in that bowl?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got 4. Good thing I have my husband here, huh? I got 4 cups of bread flour. It says 4 1/3 cups, but I keep that extra, that 1/3 out, because if I don't need it, I'm not putting it in. So I just put my 4 cups in here, and now I'm gonna start adding it to my mixer. All right. I'm gonna add about a cup to start out with, just because I don't want this to take all day today and tomorrow. So get it mixed up.
So what consistency are we looking for in the dough?
It's going to be a drier dough, and when I take it out of here, at first it's going to be a little bit tougher dough and a little drier than my regular bread dough, but that's the consistency that you want bagels. Bagels are a little bit heavier of a bread, and so you're not going to have, it's not going to be as light and fluffy. You're looking for more of a dense dough, more like sourdough. But on my bagels, I don't like them to be too dense, so that's why I try not to get the dough too dry. And again, with your mixer, when you're mixing stuff, if you get it going too high, too fast, you're going to end up with your flour everywhere, and it'll be like it's snowing in your kitchen.
And at the bottom of the description will be the full recipe for these bagels.
Yes.
Back to Laura.
We try. My husband's really good about putting the recipe in at the bottom of everything for me, so that you will have the recipes. Woo. Goodness gracious. See, I almost made it snow in the kitchen. And in this kitchen, there's not much room for snow. Just barely enough room for us. All right. All right. As you can see with this one compared to my bread dough, if any of you watched the videos on the bread dough, it's already a lot thicker, and I haven't added nearly as much flour.
How much water did you have in there?
1 1/4 cups of water, where my bread dough takes a couple cups, but it also takes 6 cups of flour. So I'll start out slow. Woo. But a bagel dough is going to be, for bagels and baguettes and stuff like that, it's going to be it's going to be a tougher dough. The last few minutes, I do that kneading out on the table, because I feel like it makes a better, more consistent bread to do that kneading, that last bit out on the counter on a flat surface by hand. And that could just because I'm sort of old school. I'm not. You're old, all right. Honey. You shush up over there, son. No, don't be making no noise.
You're old enough to be his grandma.
Nuh-uh. And kick it up a little bit once it gets going, so that I can knock that dough off the it's wrapped around my mixer.
Your hook?
My hook, yep. So it got wrapped up around my hook, so I just spun it off a little bit. See how much tougher that, or not tougher, but drier that dough is?
Yeah, stick your finger in there. I meant while it was going.
What the heck's wrong with you? And sometimes if I feel like it's too dry, I'm not afraid to add a little bit of water. But
so how do you know when it's the right consistency?
By the feel of it and the touch, and I've been doing it for a long time.
Well, can you explain to these people what they're looking for?
You're looking for your dough to come together, but to not to be so dry that it doesn't mix together in the bottom of the bowl. So if it's just continuing to break apart and not to come together, then you just add a little splash of water.
Like a 1/4 cup or a tablespoon or teaspoon?
Honey, a splash is like, a splash. You want me to show you? Oh, never mind.
I'll baptize you in the toilet again.
But right here, I'm feeling like it's a little bit on the dry side, and I still got a cup of flour to put in there. So I'm going to add, just like a tablespoon of water. Whew. If I can keep it from like going everywhere. So I'm going to put that water right down there in the bottom.
What's unique about our videos is they are raw and unedited. So you get us how we are.
Sometimes that's not good. There we go. Now it's starting to pull together a little bit again. Doesn't take much. And now I'm going to try to add the rest of this flour. But the recipe does call for 4 1/3, and I find that about 4 cups is about where I'm going to be. I don't like my dough to be too dry. And I don't like to have a snow shower of flour either.
Hey, you're a poet and didn't know it.
A snow flour shower. There we go. Oops. Stop.
What fell off?
The front of the mixer thing fell off of there. I just gotta untwist it and twist it back on, sorry. So what happens if you use an attachment and you forget to put it back on. Tight. Now this is a drier dough, that's about how I like it. It is dry. But I'm gonna put it out on the counter and I'm gonna mix it together.
Doesn't look like you can make anything with that.
Oh, we'll make stuff with it.
Boiled donuts.
That's right. I can add a little tiny bit more water, but I don't think it needs a ton more. Just gonna put 1 tablespoon in there. But a bagel dough is a lot drier than a bread dough. So, but when I put it out on the counter, I'm not going to add any flour to that.
Okay, we'll come back.
All right.
Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe she's going to put it on the counter now.
I'm going to put it on the counter.
We'll come back when she gets it out on the counter, but she's doing it now.
I'll put it on the counter. And as always, I try to wipe down the counter first.
Do you flour your counter?
Nope, I do not want my counter floured and at all for this one. I'm going to wipe it off. What I do want though is my counter to be slightly damp because it's like I said, it's a drier flour or a drier bread. Yeah, some of it just jumped out on its own. Just throw it back
Committing
in.
dough-aside. It's committing dough-aside.
That's right. It's like, what are we doing? So it's a real dry dry dough, and I'm going to bring it all together out on my counter.
The bowl's in the way.
Okay. It'll be all out of the way in a second, babe. Hey, quit taking my stuff. All right. Now, I'm going to work it in by kneading it.
Work it, baby, work it.
All right, work it good. So you see how it's coming out? And this usually takes about, it's real tough right now, but it will soften up as I knead it.
As you knead its what?
As I knead its butt. As I knead the bread, it will soften up.
What do you need it to do?
To soften, dear, and to create
Well,
gluten.
you kept saying as you knead it what? I was trying to make a dad joke.
He's the king of dad jokes. All right. So we'll come back, and it takes about 5 to 6 minutes at least of kneading to get this dough to the consistency that I want it.
All right, we'll be back when she's done or just about done kneading it. Because she's a very needy woman.
When I'm not needy anymore, we'll come back.
Okay, we're back.
All right, so now I've just getting done kneading the dough. Like I said, it's a little bit rougher of a dough. It's drier, so it's going to pull apart just a little bit like that. But it's okay because it's a heavier dough and for a bagel. But I just go like this.
Do you still let bagel dough rise?
You do. You're going to let it rise 60 to 90 minutes for it to completely double in size. So I'm going to take it.
Why so long? Is it so dense?
It is a denser dough, so you do have to let it rise a little longer. So now I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna put it in my pan. It was already partially greased, but not completely.
That's a lot of oil.
That's okay. This helps it all come together. There we go. Like that. And then we take our cheesecloth type of a towel. Get a little bit damp with warm water.
And if you're living in an RV, you have to keep your oven in the wintertime. You have to keep the oven on and use the propane so the bread will rise, so the dough will rise properly. Correct, dear?
Yes, that's what I do, and I set it right up here on top of my stove.
As you
There we go.
Oh, and the stove, the oven is on.
Yep, my oven is on so that when it's just helps it to rise. Plus, I've always found that the ovens in the RV, they do not read accurately. So I have this at 430 on the right here on the button. It says 430 degrees is what I got it set at.
That's high.
But it's not.
But
inside, it's only at 400.
Yeah, it's a whole lot cooler.
Yep, it's a lot cooler. Usually it's around 350.
It's about 350 right now.
So these cook at 425. So when I do get to the spot of cooking them, about a half an hour before I'm gonna crank it up, and on here it'll read almost 390.
490?
490, 475, and it should be about the right temperature. But I always have that temperature gauge in there, cooking in an RV with a gas stove, because they're just not as consistent. You got to figure out where your oven is at the right temperature.
And the reason why Laura is cooking so much stuff today, doing all kinds of cooking, is because this young man is going to college in Boise tomorrow.
Bagels.
And he wanted bagels and cinnamon rolls. So what Mom do?
Made bagels and cinnamon rolls.
For who?
Me.
That's right. Are they going to make it to Boise?
Probably not. Me rolling out of my car. Be like Bible college, weight loss school.
Alright. I'm going to stop the video. We'll see you guys back when the dough is done rising.
Hello, welcome back. So now we have our dough that's set out here for about 90 minutes. And as you can see, it's doubled in size, or almost doubled in size. You want it to double or almost doubled?
That looks totally different than what it did when you first put it over there.
Yep, it's about about double the size. So now I'm going to turn this out on my board, clean spot, and I'm going to cut it into 8 sections, 8 to 10 sections, and make it into bagels. So it's just that simple. No more kneading it. So
it's not a very kneady dough, huh?
it's not. We're gonna knead it again, but we're gonna make it into, like I said, 8 to 10 balls, and then we're gonna make them into bagels. So I cut it up, try to get them even. I mean, obviously I might not get them perfectly even, because this one's smaller, these ones are bigger, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do my best. Put some of that with that one. Alright. 1, 2. I mean, you do your best to try to get them as even as you can. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, it looks like about right. That's, is that 7? No, that's 8. So we got 8. I can count to 8. All right.
Do you need to take your shoes off?
Am I going to take my shoes off?
Yeah, to count to 8.
No, shush. No, I'm not taking my shoes off to count to 8. You're so funny.
Oh, that's right. You're college educated, aren't you?
I am. And you don't need my shoes. But while I'm doing this, this here is a pan of water. And for bagels, you want to, ooh, that's a big dough. For bagels, you want to, you're going to boil them before you cook them, okay?
What's that do?
That stops them from continuing to rise in the oven. So I like a bagel to be a little softer, not as heavy of a bagel. Some people don't raise their dough, let their dough raise at all. I let my dough raise until it will float. Now you're going to make all these into balls. And I try just to tuck the ball in the same as I did before with the dinner rolls, if you watched that. My first video. So I'm going to make this into balls. No, they're not all perfectly the same size because I'm just not that good.
So what's in the pan other than water?
There's water in there, 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. And that is going to be my boiling water. It also helps to flavor the bagels.
And again, the salt that we use is the Redmond salt. And no, we are not sponsored by Redmond at all. We just very much like all of their products. They have not only salts, but they have seasonings, which are all absolutely fantastic.
Yep. So, making these into balls. Some people like to make the balls like this. And then just cup their hand and go like that. And then it makes a ball. I do it like this. And sometimes will, at the very end, take and go like this on my counter to make it into a ball.
Didn't you say earlier that you're going to take a little piece off of one of them for a test?
Yes, sometimes you can take a piece off of one, make it into a little ball, but I'll do that when I get done, when I'm ready to raise them. Because I have a few of them, like these two, they're a little on the big side, so I'll take a little ball off of them. Because when we boil the bagels in the water, 1 minute on each side, they have to float first. Some people will test float them in a cold water pan, but I just do it with a little piece and then we eat it. And then you just eat it. You bake it and eat it. So I'm going to get this started on the stove. Once I move that off the stove.
Yeah, we don't need the smoke detector going off.
Yeah, that's when the things are done. So,
so do you let these balls rise again?
I'm going to shape them, and I will let the dough rise just a little bit because I like a dough. I like a bagel that is softer, not quite as chewy. So I do like to let them rise a little bit.
Okay, so show us how to make the bagel form.
That's what I'm going to do. And to do that, I get a little water, get my counter a little bit wet, and you gotta be careful not to get it too wet. And then I'm gonna roll it. Some people just roll it on the counter. I like to do it like this. Got a little bit too wet. And then I go like this. There's 2 different ways you can do it. You can do it this way, which I think is the easier way to do it, and it forms a better bagel. You make it about 9 to 10 inches long. I do not have a measuring stick, so make it about 9 to 10 inches long. That's usually about enough to wrap around my hand. I wrap it around my hand. You want to do palm up though. Wrap it around your hand like that, and then roll it here.
The bagels only have just a little tiny hole in the middle of them.
Yes, but when I let it rise just a little bit, that hole will fill in.
Okay.
This part, when I do it this way, it's a little bit harder to do because you got to get these 2 to form together. Okay? But see? When it rises a little bit, it's not going to be that thick.
Okay, well, we will come back as soon as she gets all of them done.
And the other way to...
oh, okay, she just showed us the other way.
Yep. The other way to form a bagel is to make your ball.
And smack it.
Smack it. You make the ball, but then you take your fingers and you take your hands and you push down through the center, and you go like this, and you form it.
Oh, that seems easier.
It can be, but you got to stretch it a little bit so that it actually forms the hole, and the hole doesn't completely go away.
Why do you have to have a hole in the middle?
I think they're donuts, maybe. I don't know. You have to have a little hole, but when it rises, that will go away. It is a little easier to do it this way.
Okay, tell everybody ciao. See you in a minute.
All right, see you in a minute. All right, so now I have tested my one test ball, which is right here, and I'll show you how I do the other one.
You got that boiling?
And this is lightly boiling. You don't want it rolling, just a light boil in the bottom. That's it. So
Let me see.
Yep.
See if I can see that in there. Okay.
Just a light roll.
Yep.
So then I take this and very carefully put it in, and it will come to the top.
So your timer?
See how it's starting to float?
Yep.
Oh, if I can figure out how to set my timer, we'll all be doing good. Okay. So see how it's floating now?
Yep.
So we'll go about 10 seconds short.
What do you got things to say?
So I always test in hot water with a small ball of my dough. And typically, during the time that you pull your dough off of, out of the bowl, and you're forming your bagels, while you're waiting for your water to boil, and your poaching water, that's about as much time as you need for your bagels to rise. But you do want to allow them to have some of that rise. Otherwise, you'll have a tougher bagel. Now, if you like a tougher bagel, chewier bagel, then that's fine.
And
then you flip it over like that.
They did rise really nicely. Oh,
so
sorry.
after a minute, you flip it over, which I just did. So I flipped it to the other side and I let it cook for another minute. The other thing you can do with bagels, after you form them into their shapes, you can cover them and put them in the refrigerator. And just leave them in the refrigerator and let them rise in the refrigerator at night, overnight. Pull them out the next morning, and while you're getting and let them sit there for about an hour, half an hour to an hour, and get your water and everything boiling. And while you're doing that, they will come up to room temperature, and they will rise, but they will also rise very, very slowly, just a little bit at night in the refrigerator overnight. And sometimes people like to do that so they can have bagels in the morning. So this one is really close to done.
Why again do you boil them in water?
You boil in water to stop the rising process, so they can't rise more. And you boil them in water also. See how much bigger that got?
Oh yeah. That's a fatty.
He's a fatty. But you boil in water also so that it will form a nicer crust on the bagel. Now, if you see this, when your bagels look like little bottoms, this one that I did by doing the long tube,
Yeah, by
and
rolling
then wrapping
it out.
by rolling it out, they don't turn out as pretty. If you do them like this, they're prettier. But
Yeah, that looks much prettier than that.
all right, so now I'm gonna take these over here by my stove, and I'm gonna put them in one at a time.
And look at that. No, you're putting two in at a time.
No, I mean, if I put in like 3 or 4 at a time, like as many as your pan can hold. My pan is a pretty big pan, so it can hold 5. And now
6.
I set my timer, or 6. Timer for a minute. Timer. All right. So, and see how the one that I did where I rolled it and put it together? See how it tried to come apart?
Yep.
They don't come apart like that easily when you do them like this.
So in other words, don't roll them out. Just just roll them into a ball and or flatten them out and poke a hole in the center of them.
Yeah. I like to just stick my thumb through them and then shape them. And
I
I've
like
got
mine.
the oven set to 425 to between 425 and 450. It says to cook them for 20 to 25 minutes. If you prefer, again, a bagel that is not as tough or chewy and not as hard of a crust, 20 minutes. If you want one that's heavier, then you're going to do it for longer. All right, so once they do that, you flip each one.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I didn't even have to take off my shoes.
Yeah, there you go. The bottom's not as pretty as the top, but that's okay. And then, there we go. 1 minute on each side.
You got anything to say?
Are you learning anything?
Yeah.
What you
Sweet.
learning?
Difference between a bagel and a donut. You boil bagels.
What do you do to donuts?
You deep fry them.
But you also bake bagels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stop. Turn it down. If it starts to get really high like that, turn your heat down. Because you don't want it to boil over. All right. I'm going to go ahead and pull them out. 1. Oh, shoot. Where two of these works much better because then you have a finger, since you don't have a hand. Whew. Ah! This is the excitement of the bagel. Okay. Whew. Bagel excitement. And they are puffy babies.
And they are slippery as a wet fish.
Yes, they are. Very slippery. Okay. So I got those 6 out. I'm going to put the last 2 in. While we're doing that, 1, 2. Timer. 1, timer. Okay. The other next step that you do, 1, you want them all pretty side up. So get them all pretty side up. Ouch! Don't burn yourself like that. And what I have here is egg wash. So it's just 1 egg and a little bit of water. And I'm going to put this all over it. All over the outside of these. And this is going to, again, help them have a nice crust on top. And it's going to help hold on the toppings. So I'm going to take 1. And this one's going in Parmesan and garlic that I put out there. Just roll it in that, put it back.
And you can just put anything in there that you like, right?
You can do all different types of seasonings and stuff.
Chocolate chips, sesame seed.
If you want that, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, gotta flip those. The cheddar doesn't stick as easily.
Do the everything bagel seasoning.
You can use everything bagel seasoning, yep. Timer 1. Timer. Okay. The cheddar cheese, just take it and place it. It's going to work better if you just place it.
Or you can just leave them plain. Because I like plain bagels too.
Yep. So. But whatever you feel like. It's just fun. Alright. These little guys are also going to go in at some point. So I'm going to go ahead and do them up.
Leave the big one plain.
Okay, I can do that.
Please.
No worries. And then...
Oh, you're going to leave that other one plain?
Yeah. And let's leave it plain for you. I'm just going to use this for now. To take these 2 out and put in there. Because I've got... My oven is very small. So for this order, or this dill, it's... My oven's just not big enough for all of these bagels.
Put them in a bread pan.
So, but then the bread pan and that won't fit in there together.
Oh.
My oven's just not big enough. So
Is it, if your oven's not big enough, is it okay to let a couple of them set aside for, say, they bake?
Yep, because I have them prepared so that they're not going to be, they're all prepped and everything. They're not going to rise, they shouldn't raise anymore. And I'm just gonna leave them like they are. I'm gonna take my fingers because I don't want to touch this one because it's really hot still, and just move some of that on it. And if you want more, just, you know, pile it on top, whatever you want. I'm gonna leave this other one plain because Kevin likes plain. So that's it on that. Now I'm gonna check my oven, and they're gonna go into the oven 20 minutes to start with, and then I'm gonna check them, and then go another. Then I'll go another 5 minutes if I need it.
But you said my name. Now everybody's going to know my name. I'm in the fitness protection program.
Oh, the fitness protection program, honey. I'm sorry. We're
Yeah.
done with that one. Okay.
That's why I'm being protected against fitness.
Oh.
I'm fitting this fork in my mouth.
Because I fit this bagel in my mouth.
Oh my gosh. Look what I put up with. Okay. So
Earlier
450.
it was, I'm fitting this cinnamon roll in my mouth.
There was a fitness cinnamon roll. That's right. So 20 minutes, and we'll be back.
All right.
All right. See you on the flip side. Whew. All right. Welcome back. So I got my bagels in here. They're done. Timer just went off, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull them out. Like I said, I like a softer bagel, so these ones got really big and round, so sometimes it happens, but they're nice and thumpy.
It sounds hollow.
Yep.
They look good.
All right.
I may not wait till dinner. I may have one like right now as soon as I turn this video off.
I need to grab one of those pans. What are those other pans? Oh, never mind. I know where it's at. Everybody, hang on. Right here. Always have these on hand in an RV because you never know when you might need one. Little stuff on there. These are giant. They actually continued growing a little bit, so but that's okay. I don't mind. I'm gonna stick these ones in the oven for 20 minutes. Oh, crud. My little pan tried to get away from me. Gotta be careful with them little tinfoil pans. Okay. Timer, 20 minutes. All right. This one right here will be our test one.
You want to take your first test, Laura, and tell us how it is?
Yeah, let me get my knife.
Too bad
You
we don't
always
have any
to have
cream.
A good bread knife.
Too bad we don't have any
serrated.
cream cheese.
Oh, I know. We should have had cream cheese. So, let's grab that little puppy. Yummy.
We need to send Austin with a couple of them, though.
Oh, yeah. That's why I made bagels. I'm going to open it up. Look at the inside.
Ooey gooey goodness.
And they're
that's nice and
they're
soft.
dense, but yet they're still soft.
Okay.
We got butter we can put on them. But they're great if you let them cool and then toast them. Cut them in half and toast them. They're nice and fat. Yummy.
Well, put some butter on and taste it. Tell us how it is.
All right. I'm going. All right, got my handy dandy little butter thing.
Since how Austin's doing laundry.
Yeah, and Kevin likes the plain part, so I'm going to let him have the plain bottom. But I like the gooey side with all the other stuff on it, so I'm going to have the other part. Alrighty, I'm going to taste this one. This one has all the garlic and Parmesan on the top there.
Ooh.
Mmm. Oh, yum. Oh, I'm sort of dripping butter.
You got some on your top
Oh.
lip.
This is so good.
Tell me what it tastes like.
It's yummy. That little Parmesan gives a little crisp on there. Now, if you like a little bit tougher one, bagel, then just cook them for that extra 5 to 10 minutes so you get a little darker crust. But in my RV cook stove, I need to be careful about the bottom not getting too hard. So, but it is finger looking good because there's butter all over my hand. It is so good.
All right, well, see you in a little bit.
Bye.
All right, actually, it'll be more like see you next video.
Exactly. Next video. If you have suggestions for what you'd like to see, just put it down there. I was thinking about doing croissants, maybe some puff pastry, show you how to make some homemade croissants that are really yummy.
But I told her she needs to quit making sweet things because I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I didn't make any sweet things, just one thing, honey.
Alright, so just, and remember, like and subscribe.
Yep. Next one is going to be cinnamon rolls, right? Oh, we already did cinnamon rolls. Okay, bye!